Alright, we're going to do a walk around and a close-up of the DXT 1000 single seat race buggy with a GSXR 1000 engine, 185 horsepower, and the RPM gearbox, built by Prototype or Protolite Racing. This car is equipped with Fox 2.0 air shocks. When we adjust the rate of the shocks for different terrain, we fill it to a certain pressure with nitrogen from a nitrogen tank. Approximate settings this car is set up at is 220 pounds in the front and approximately 180 to 200 pounds in the rear. We're running 12-inch wheels on this with 25-inch tall tires. These are the street tires on this one. Car is equipped with window nets for racing, which are removable. To detach the window net, you simply pull the handle back, now you can enter the vehicle. To fully remove the window net, we pull a bolt right here, and this whole window net assembly comes right out, so you do not even need to run it. This car is equipped with a Kirky racing seat, a Pro Dragster racing seat, G-Force racing harnesses, electrical and battery are all behind the seat here. The seat is adjustable with a lever right there for forward and reverse, depending on the size of the driver. The lever over here to the left is forward and reverse for the gearbox. You depress the button there to engage the lever and pull it backwards for a reverse, and it locks into a spot. Right now it is in forward gear. What we have here is the dash and instrument panel. The steering wheel is removable with a quick release by pulling this back right here. The steering wheel can go on and off. On the right side here, what we have is the gear shifter. Pushing it forward engages it in the first gear, and then pulling it back gives you 5 more gears. There's 6 gears with the GSXR 1000 motor. On the dash, to the far left upper, there's a red stop switch. That's an engine kill switch. That's preferred for racing, other than just the keyed ignition, to where you can have a quick stop for your motor. There's turning signals to the left. Then there's a horn, and there's a mode switch. Above that, there's a switch to turn off the headlights if you want, and there's a fan switch that goes to the auxiliary chain blower fan. That fan is just to help keep the engine cool if you are racing. Now, here's your key. The green light with the N on it on the GSXR gauges shows that we are neutral. To start the motor, the key is on. Here is the start switch. The pedals to the far left is your clutch, which you use when shifting your gears. The 2 center pedals are the foot brake. You can use your right or your left foot. The pedal to the far right is your gas pedal. We've added a fire extinguisher for safety, just in case, for racing and other things. There's the headlights. Up front is a bracket that is either for a flag mount or for a tie down on a trailer to hold. Turning signals are also in the mirrors here. We get to the back here, we have a custom-made airbox designed and built by us. The intake, it comes through the bottom, which there's a pre-filter screen. We'll not be able to see that right now. That's where the actual air intake is. You remove the 4 bolts on the top, the entire comes off, and then you can see the pre-filter and the filter to check for cleaning, to take apart, to clean occasionally. This car is set up with a dual radiator. That's the left one, and there's the right one. We have built shrouds, also fan shrouds, for these radiators to help battle the heat and keep these engines cool. This one runs very cool. This here is the auxiliary chain blower. If you want to remove this, it's as simple as removing 2 bolts there and unplugging the few wires to it. If we want to flip that on, that blows cold air down onto the chain and through the cover to reduce chain temps when racing. For regular recreational dunes, it's really not needed, but for racing, it does help. Here we have the fuel cell, and in this fuel cell, what we have is the stock fuel pump mounts directly up into the bottom of the fuel cell. That's the regular bike fuel pump. Here we have a breather for the RPM gearbox. This is the RPM gearbox in here in our engine cradle assembly. Sometimes when these get hot, they push the hot oil out. So we've designed and built this to where it pushes the oil up into the reservoir there, yet it breathes, and then the oil, once it cools, sucks back into the gearbox. What we have here is some of the linkage going to the cable that works with the forward and reverse lever inside the cockpit. Chain tension should be around 1/2 inch. As the longer you run these vehicles, the more the chain stretches and you'll get more slop into your chain. To adjust the chain for that, we have 4 bolts that all need to be loosened that go through the gearbox. Once those are loosened, we loosen up the jam nuts here on the turnbuckles. These are then turned with a wrench, and the whole gearbox pivots back and applies more tension on the chain by rotating back the gearbox. Once you achieve proper chain tension again, then we lock the jam nuts down, and we go through and we lock the through bolts, securing the gearbox in place once again. This chain should be lubed with a good chain lube before and after every run that reduces a lot of chain heat. This has 930 CVs and axles with our dual A-arm suspension. Before driving, should always go through and do a bolt check on suspension components and do a check on the CVs, and just an overall good check just to make sure all bolts are secured in place. This is the rear brake rotor on this side here. there's a sight glass on the reverse gearbox there where we try to fill it up to where the sight glass is half full or close to the top with gear oil. That should be the proper amount. A little more or a little less does not hurt. The sight glass for the engine oil is right here, and that is towards the full limit, which is good. Sometimes it varies. The motor has to sit a little while. It'll retain oil after running up inside of the motor, so it may look empty. Give it a little while before deciding if you need to add oil or not. If you do not have a leak, it should not need much oil added other than oil changes. At that time, here's the filler for the engine. And there is the oil filter. Here's a rear spoiler. This is fitted with brake lights and turning signals and running lights. This is where we fill the fuel tank. This has an O-ring to keep the gas in. There is a breather vent right here to release air pressure from the heat that builds up in the tank. To occasionally remove the hood for maintenance, inspection, repair, it has a series of bolts that hold the whole hood panel here on, and also have to remove the bolts holding the lights on. The wiring for the lights has a plug on it, so the wiring can be pulled back here. Then you can access the plug and undo the headlights, or to take those off and run without the headlights if you would like. Here's our tie rod assembly and our front suspension and steering. We normally set the tires with approximately 1/4 inch of toe out. Is how we like to run it. That's all adjustable through there, and also on the rack. These are also bolts that should be inspected from time to time to make sure that everything is good and secure in place before driving. And I believe that should be it for a walk around the Protolite Racing DXT 1000. Drive safely.